Hey, what is going on, guys? It is your friend Sabivo here today to talk about the one, the only, the best, the top 10 Mercy players of all time. Now, when we talk about best, understand that there is no such thing. We live in a world of interpretation and a world of the next best thing. So this is a list taking my experience in countless hours and utilizing it to the point to the right direction, which I believe to be the closest answer on the internet. Thousands of people have played the game, millions have tried. What I put together is a list of respect. Whether you were a player who played it well, a player who never knew, or a player that felt the right to be on this list, don't think about comparison, think about reason. I can justify mine. If you disagree, I'm looking for you to explain yours. Now, take into consideration that when I rank these players, I'm rating them strictly off, again, my experience, not only playing them, but being a part of this whole community and the people who had strided so hard to better their game and played this also for pure enjoyment. So they're based off of accuracy, strategy, movement, defense, and of course, execution. Nothing sometimes more important than just executing what you can do. What you can have all the greatest utensils in the world, but if you can't execute, they're useless. So coming in at number 10 on the list, we have no other than your friend Ess MooMooMilk. He undoubtedly has one of the strongest shotguns from Gears of War 2, and he translated into Gears of War 3 as an amazing player, but he ventured definitely off into the montage side of things. Not to say that that takes away from anything, because believe it or not, you're actually still doing nothing but practicing when you're montaging on things like your shotgun, your movement, and your strengths and weaknesses. You're actually never going to focus on that stuff more than YouTubers do, because obviously they have to show for it. Competitive players, they just have to show for it in a different way. But Moo Moo Milk honestly has probably the best box game that I've ever seen. If you look at his YouTube and look on YouTube at different 1v1 Mercy games, probably some of the most out there against respectable players. And I would fail to see a reason why you would not put him on a list. It's a very unique game that he has. And when you consider his accuracy, unquestionable that he definitely has the accuracy to be in the top 3 here. When he comes to strategy, I don't think he honestly played it enough to have a strong enough strategy, and that also involves his prediction game. Movement, I think that it was up to par and well beyond your average player, obviously, and well beyond any sort of competitive standard, but it was not in the greatest amount the most effective, in my opinion. There was some weird things that he does, obviously, strafes and wall strafes. Not too many people do that kind of stuff, but at the same time, it could have been slightly better. So when we go on the defense, again, that's got to be a top 3 strength of his. And when it comes to execution, that's got to be a top 3 strength of his. So this, when you put it in the perspective, you're just thinking probably to yourself right now, like, wow, like let me hear about the rest of these guys. But give him a look if you don't know who he is. Obviously, you should if you play this game or if you're watching this video up until now. Number 9 on that list is another ESS member, DeeJay. I'm not sure if many of you guys know him, but he was more of an older player from Essence. I don't know if he actually still plays the game anymore. I haven't played with him or talked to him in a long time, but he was an amazing player, full of all kinds of things. And mainly he was notorious for his slap shots. They were so strong. You come out of cover, and you're talking about any given time, you're just. But that shouldn't just be everything that you consider when you're talking about this guy, because honestly, he had pretty decent accuracy. For the last time I played him, it wasn't at his best, but his accuracy definitely was up there. His strategy in my opinion, was definitely up there. Wasn't, again, one of his strongest spots. His movement was definitely up there. All across the board, defense was way beyond, definitely a top 2 in my opinion in defense. But in execution, sometimes he lacked, so that's where his little bit of a downfall was, in my opinion, to becoming closer to the top on this list, is the overall execution of everything and putting it all together. So number 7, we're not at number 7, we're not at number 8. Number 8, we have, I'm not sure if you know him, he was a late comer coming up into the game, Plagarize, aka Jack Dawson from Titanic. Very humble guy. You're not going to see too many videos of him on YouTube unless it was other people that recorded him, just because they were actually interested in watching him play. Towards the end of Gears of War 3, and those that played it towards the end, he became quickly and lately one of the best Mercy players. He was slaying out, and undoubtedly he was beating some of the best competition that was out there, not only past but current. And I don't see any other reason why he does not deserve a spot on this list. Had he actually been a player active prior to the game obviously dying, I would venture to say that he'd probably find himself even closer to the top on this list. Naturally, he was a really strategic player. His movement probably was what really kept him up there, is that he was a hard target, in my opinion. I played a lot of people. I was honestly known when I played my hardest for my accuracy, and despite any times that I've ever won games against him or anything like that, he's one of those people where you just look back and it's like, you still give mad respect to that person that you just played. And I really like the guy. Like I said, about his movement, his strategy obviously was on point. His defense was definitely elite, because he started out as someone that learned things defensively, and he played passive aggressive, which is very similar to the way that I like to play Mercy when I'm really trying. And the only thing that really lacked for him, in my opinion, probably was a little bit more accuracy, and he probably could have gained in his execution. His execution only lacked slightly because of his accuracy, in my opinion. So otherwise, he probably would have been up there higher on the list, and he probably would have been up higher on the list had he been playing it for a longer period of time. But obviously, mad respect to these people. And in no way, shape, or form could you possibly look at these guys and say, well, yeah, he couldn't shoot or something like that. But jumping on to number 7. Number 7 is an old school player. Not too many people might not even know this guy. This might just strike you. But if you don't, obviously check him out sometimes. Lbambz. Gosh, an original player from back in the day. Just one of the strongest shotguns I've ever played against personally. I played him at a time when he probably wasn't at his best. It was definitely well out of his prime, I guess you can call it. So his accuracy, obviously, straight up on point. His strategy, I can't say that it wasn't bad and it wasn't good, because I can't really say anything about it. It's like he did what worked for him, and it worked consistently. So I'd have to say that his strategy was up to par. His movement, at the time for when he played, it was elite. It was one of, it was up there. It was on point. Given what we know now and what you can do in Gears of War 3, I think that I would consider him middle of the road as far as movement goes, and we are considering all things, so that's why I do consider him middle of the road in terms of movement. Defense, obviously elite, and execution, obviously elite. So as you can tell, we're talking about more and more elite characteristics as we go along here. And then we're going to jump into number 6. Number 6 is a really close friend of mine. Definitely one of also the newer players that came a little bit later in the game, but I can't really say that so much for him because I played Gears of War 3 with him for at least probably 4 years, and he always had, for one, oh, I didn't even give you his name, Renogram. I cannot give you out his government. I can't say his government on this one like I could for some others. He'd probably get really mad and come beat me down with his hoopty. But anyways, you don't need to know what any of that means. His accuracy, obviously, was, in my opinion, the only thing that could have been a little bit better. Because his strategy was always there. His movement was well beyond there. I mean, you want to talk about one of the fastest and one of the most original to become that fast of a movement player in this game. Yeah, there you go. That is him. Mr. Pullback Swerve, and God damn, I don't even know how to explain it. The guy, his movement is elite. Defense, obviously, was another area in which I felt he was really strong. Probably could have been a little bit stronger to some degree, but I would blame that mainly on patience rather than defense, which his patience had increased so much towards the end of his gameplay, which made him so much more elite in his execution, which is the last thing I will refer to. But definitely give his channel a check out sometime if you don't know who he is. Amazing friend, amazing player. Nothing really, obviously, bad to say there about him. Number 5 spot, we got another older player. You might not know who he is. His name is Anabolic Hippo. And when I say elite, I mean, we're starting to really, really talk about the best of the best here. And you guys just don't understand just how good and long it takes to get this good. But his accuracy, well on point. His defense is strongest part of his game. I mean, good luck pushing this guy. If you can push him, you're pretty good at pushing, you know. And that's honestly one of his strongest points, is that it actually does take, you know, you have to actually be at some point good at camping to be a good camper. But anyways, his movement was there as well. You know, for his time and also for where he was, I definitely would consider it a top 5 easily just in movement. His strategy, that's the only thing where I would say his little bit of a downfall is because his strategy heavily relied on you obviously coming at him sometimes. Not to say that he couldn't push, but he was definitely more passive than aggressive. And his execution, obviously, of everything was well on point. Nothing bad to say there, you know. And I don't have anything bad to say about any of these perspectives or players, but you know, just where I personally feel like they could have been possibly a little bit stronger. And a lot of these players, if not all of them, would probably agree with me on everything that I'm saying here. So, you know, if you have a problem with me saying this, then I don't understand, because they wouldn't. Number 4, we have a really, really well-known guy in Gears of War 3. He became quickly a friend of mine when I met him and started playing Mercy with him. His name is Jake, a.k.a. Syn Nasty Nas. Just one of the dirtiest players and pushers that you're ever going to see. Just straight up just knows how to push your shit in. I mean, when it comes down to it, you could think you're as good as you want, and you're looking at this guy thinking, like, this is so simple how he plays. You know, he just he's going to hit this cover, hit that cover, and then I'm dead. Well, yeah, that's just it. I mean, he's not going to fail. You know, every single time he does that, he's going to get you. So you got to figure out a way to not get pushed. And otherwise, you're just going to get ran over. So accuracy, biggest part of his game. He's not going to miss. Strategy, the strategy's there. He's going to do the same thing pretty much every almost time. And movement, that was the only area where I felt like he could be probably a little bit stronger. And he would have been a harder target to hit. Defense, shit. Man, I don't even know about his defense game, because he was just an aggressive player. So we'll go with maybe he could have been a little bit more defensive. Because out of the times that I actually did see him lose or ever played him, and things started going south for him, it was when I was pushing, or whoever was playing when was pushing. So I would say his defense probably was his weaker part of the game. And execution, obviously, just right on point. But jumping into number 3, we have another ESS member, was an ESS member, or Essence, however which way you want to say it, Twist. A lot of people might look up on YouTube and you might say, oh, I seen this guy get beat. Well, that's wonderful that you've seen him get beat, Because honestly, I would suspect that eventually he would get beat if you played Mercy just as much as he did. I don't think you understand how many games this guy has actually played and how many people he has actually beaten. He was an original movement player, and to that degree of movement, there was no one at his time that could even touch the things that he was doing and the way in which he was doing it. So for his time, and also even at current time, you could take what he's doing, and there's still people out there that are still every day trying to do what he does in the same game, even though it's a dead game. His strategy was probably his strongest point of his game, is that this guy just had a strong prediction game. I mean, he knew what you were doing. He was a smart player. His accuracy, probably the only thing that could have used a little bit of work. His defense, this guy would make you push up on altar, and you're up there, you're going for a shot, and yeah, he wanted you there. You're dead. You're dead. His execution was fabulous, but you know, I think his defense maybe could have used a little bit of work overall, and his accuracy. Those are the only two things that I would have to say. His defense, mainly because he was an aggressive player, that out of any of the times I ever seen him do bad or slightly bad, it was when someone was pushing him, but mostly not like in a common sense push. You know, it's like when you push him like a quick match random, as he would say, that things would probably start to go south a little bit. Coming in at number 2, we have Jack Reaction. If you don't know who he is, then I guess you don't know what a reaction shot is, and I guess you don't know what life is. This guy is just someone that's going to make you scared. You know, he's just going to play you, and he's just going to play you with so much aggression that another guy, like almost he kind of reminds me of the way that Jake Nasty played, but he plays with more movement, a lot more movement. And as you can tell with the term reaction, you're going to get a lot of reaction shots, and he's going to hit you, he's going to brick you. So in terms of accuracy, just obviously on point. By far, in my opinion, the strongest shotgun probably ever experienced by myself in the game, especially considering in Mercy. His strategy, I felt like it could use a little bit more, and he would be more effective even if he had a little bit more strategy to his push. His movement could have used a little bit more work, but I would say that was probably his weakest point. His defense was elite. I can't even talk about it. His execution, elite. Can't even talk about it. Jumping on, though, to your number 1, and this might not come as any surprise to anyone out there that has ever played Mercy. We got iGlassArrows. Not a professional player by any means, but at the same time, you could say all you want. You could say this guy is only good in church. You could only say that this guy, you know, he played too much Mercy. Well, you're probably right, and that's because he enjoyed it. Him and his brother both are going to fall under that one tag. There's 3 people total that play on that tag. 2 people that consecutively were considered really good Mercy players, and I can't really break it out in the list, because if I was going to break out the brothers, they would still both be in the top 10. So, you know, fuck it, we're going to put them in the top 1 because they deserve it. And you're not going to see someone that was that consistent ever. You know, how many people do you know that have beaten that many classified players? You're not going to talk to anyone that has. How many people do you know that have actually dedicated that much time to Mercy? You're not going to see anyone who has. In terms of accuracy, James, the one brother, yeah, he's just, when he was at his best, he's got to play you like you've never been played. The strategy to both of their games, the elite. It's very seldom that I would ever, maybe out of the hundreds and hundreds of games I played, you know, baited them out of cover and stuff like that. That's seldom. Movement, obviously elite. One of the 2 best movement players in the game. Defense, that's where we're going to lack a little bit. That's the only point where I would say that they could probably work on that, because, you know, I've seen a game, and if you're watching this video, you know what game I'm talking about, where I really saw that the defense could have been a little bit better for the one brother. The other brother did actually pick up in that area. You know, his slap shots are fucking crazy. And execution, obviously, on point. I mean, if you've never seen this guy play, you got to go check him out. He's been both brothers, some of my closest friends on Xbox since I've had an Xbox. And they're really good people, very humble. Well, I can't say the same for both brothers. One brother's really humble, the other one can be a little cocky, but he deserves it. Look at him, he's number one. So if you have any obviously questions or disagreements with anything on this list, be sure to talk to me. Be sure to drop a comment. Be sure to drop a fucking like. This fucking video might change your perspective on how hard you want to push yourself to become elite, to become on a top 10 list. Because these guys made it and these guys deserve it. Obviously, at any given time, any of these guys can beat any of these guys. There's no apples to oranges here is all it really is when you're just going to say, hey, well, I can see this guy, he beat this guy. That doesn't mean shit. I'm talking about consistency, I'm talking about accuracy, strategy, movement, defense, and of course, execution. So, again, be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching. This is GSQ Sub Evo, and I am out.